Like, it's crazy, man. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Assimilation Podcast, where we dive deep into the latest trends, discussions, and ideas shaping our world. I'm your host, MJ Mpoyi. Join me as I talk with experts, thought leaders, and fascinating individuals from all walks of life to bring you a fresh perspective on the issues that matter the most. Whether you're a curious learner or a passionate professional, this is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired, educated, and entertained. This is the Assimilation Podcast. Now let's get started. I just wanted to apologize before I actually introduce my next guest to the show. I actually wanted to apologize for me being absent. I had exams and I had so many things going on and I couldn't find the time. I tried so hard to find the time to actually record, but I could not find the perfect moment. And now that I got everything out of the way, I hope that I will be consistent once again, and then I'll be releasing content every week. Now, moving on to my next guests. As you can see, there's two young people next to me. Ladies and gentlemen, the next people coming to the platform are a group of young people. I call them a group because they're more than two, but today it's only two people. A group of young people that are very much passionate about young people as much as I am. As you know, the Assimilation Podcast is a platform. It's a voice for the young people. Welcoming to the platform representatives of an organization that is based in more than 30 countries around the world. I say around the world, but it's Europe and Asia, the continent Europe and Asia. Around the world, which focuses mainly on Europe-Asia relations with the aim of strengthening relations and deepening cultural ties between people living across Europe and Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the platform, Beatrice and Stella. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, I know I've asked this, but how did you guys find out about the Assimilation Podcast?
So I heard about it from Bea.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos you've sent in the group chat of Vico, and then I checked out the podcast on Spotify and on YouTube, and then I texted you because I think I found like your initiative very interesting, and I also saw that in your podcast there were also other people from Vico.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So I'm much more curious in this organization because I checked out the organization and I saw a group of young people that have taken these initiatives and are turning it into an actual reality. So I was kind of just curious, like, what was the initial idea behind Stear and why did you guys like join?
Okay, so I joined in the beginning. I'm part of the founding board. So Luke and Dao are the initiators of the think tank, and basically the idea was to have a platform for young people and to connect Europe and European and Asian youth, because there was no youth organization out there that was connecting these two regions. And I mean, there's a lot of people living across Europe and Asia, and we think that especially since we are connected, geographically, we should strengthen ties also, politically and culturally. And the idea was to have not just the policy focus, which is often what organizations have, but to bring in the cultural focus as well, because that's super important for politics. And I feel like culture is it's a soft power that underlies everything. So yeah, that was the idea. And that was also why I am still very passionate about it, because I feel like this is a really good approach to connect young people.
But why did you guys decide to choose Asia and not maybe like North America or South America or Africa?
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like for especially for Europe and the US or North America, like transatlantic relations, there's a lot happening already in the space. And there's a lot of youth organizations that focus on that. There's a bunch of organizations also focusing on Europe-Africa relations. So But for Europe, Asia, there wasn't really a youth organization. Obviously, there's think tanks and like companies that focus on that. Oftentimes, the focus is on a specific country. But for us, it was really about the entire region, like Eurasia. And
don't you think that's so broad, though? Like,
it is very broad, and it is one of the challenges, of course. But still, you gotta aim high, hey? So,
so you're having high expectations, literally.
Yes,
that's a good thing. So speaking of youth engagement, right? How do you guys view the importance of youth engagement in the fostering of closer Europe-Asia relations?
Well, I think that since young people are the future, literally, I think it's important that also young people get engaged in politics and cultural initiatives as well, especially if, as we said, Asia is very broad. So I think there are many individuals that are very interested in, and with like very different backgrounds and interests. So I think it's very helpful, and
it's very helpful. Okay, so I wanted to ask, like, where did you guys think that where did that realization come from, where you felt that your focus should be on the youth itself and not maybe older people in Europe and Asia?
I mean, we're young people. And I guess for me it was, I feel like we're not always represented as young people. We're not taken seriously. Young people have a lot of ideas, and I mean, everyone can have great ideas, obviously, no matter what age. But I feel like young people are often just not heard. They're talked at, but not, with.
Listen.
So, it was more about, having dialogue among young people, and then together, I think for us, the idea is to have, like, as a group of people, maybe we're louder and people will listen to us and hear us. But also just to empower each other, because like we said before, Europe, Asia, it's like, especially Asia, is like a very large continent. And bringing in voices that are traditionally underrepresented and not heard is very important as well. And here again, having like a bigger group and having like these voices come together and, bring a message across, I think that's kind of the idea.
How many young people have you guys been able to reach so far? With all your engagements and everything, and hosting events, and
so maybe we should explain that. So Stear, we started during the pandemic in 2021, and everything was remote. We're all based across Europe and Asia. We started, like, the founding board were 13 people, and then we grew quite fast to, I want to say, 50 people, and I think by now we're at 80 who are like working actively as members of Stear. But then we have events, and they're online events. We have a conference, but we work with other youth organizations as well. So I feel like we do have quite some reach, especially among our members in the member states where they're based. It's a bit difficult to gauge because obviously you can look at social media numbers, which have grown quite fast, especially on LinkedIn. But I think for events, for the conference, we get hundreds of applications, which is great. And I don't think all of these people follow us necessarily on social media. Literally. But we've got quite a few people applying for positions or for events, and we also get a lot of good feedback from people that I wouldn't necessarily have met anywhere. So I think the online community is quite large. I'm not sure what your impression is.
Yeah, I also get that impression that there are like, it goes beyond our current members, and especially with LinkedIn, like if we post information about an event, like, it's gonna get viewed by many people, like links of links. So
it's quite a number of people that you guys have gotten engaged. So my next question is, What initiatives or programs has your organization developed to encourage youth participation in cultural exchange and policy discussions between Europe and Asia?
Well, there are both initiatives within the organization and outside. So maybe, like for example, Stear has a kind of a newsletter focused on cultural curiosities about maybe a different country or food or traditions, etc. And for example, during the the lunar year, we incite within our members on our internal communication system. We send like pictures of every day, like how people are celebrating the new year, and so we can also between us and between different portfolios engage with each other and learn new things. Yeah. So it's very.
I would also add we have one of our flagship events, I want to say, is the Cultural Village, where we also it's kind of a virtual platform where people can literally walk around online and go to like different booths where we have cultural practitioners or just people talk about their culture, and it can be food related, it can be art related, literature, or it can just be like a discussion group where you talk about cultural differences maybe. So that is open to all as well. But we have, like Bea said, also internal capacity building. We have a book club, for example. Like we try to cover culture in the broadest sense and have like different formats to engage as many people as we can.
One thing that just throughout you guys talking, I realized that everything is based around culture.
Oh, well, I think that's our focus because we're both very much rooted in culture. I have a background in politics and culture. So like I said before, having this cultural background is very important for me in order to do politics, because I feel like I said before, a lot of it is just rooted in culture. And I feel like we can't have certain discussions without understanding where the other person is coming from, like culturally, because we're shaped by the history and the background that we grow up in. So yeah, I think it's a very important aspect, but we do have a lot of like a very strong policy part as well.
For sure. But how do you see then cultural diplomacy playing a role, like a huge role in strengthening the ties between Europe and Asia?
Well, I think in general, like every state, most of countries have engaged in some kind of cultural diplomacy through like, I don't know, music or movies, etc. And I think it's important to give give voice to maybe those cultures that are a bit overlooked because there are more powerful countries that kind of take over. So I think by giving voice to young people, especially, we can deepen the trust between different cultures and across Europe and Asia, and just to understand each other a bit more, and also go beyond like the stereotypes and things like that.
What's the most fascinating thing that you've learned about another culture in Europe or Asia that you were like, okay, this was definitely a stereotype that I thought to be true, but now that I've learned about this, it's no longer true?
Oh, that's a tough question. I feel like probably a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But
like what? Just give us one.
I'm really trying to think. Oh, for example, so one stereotype I think that's very strong still about Asia. Like Asia is always one place, even though Asia is, like I said, it's much bigger. Literally. It's one of the biggest continents and so many different countries, and yet it's always Asia and Asians. And the idea is always that they're very quiet and don't say no or things like that, and that is absolutely not true. It might be true for some countries maybe or cultures, but it's definitely not true. I've seen it.
For sure.
Yeah.
What cultural policy discussions are currently underway in the context of Europe-Asia relations, and how is your organization contributing to these discussions? Tough question.
Yeah.
How is the organization contributing to discussions that are underway? Like trying to change maybe like these stereotypes that I was talking about. How do you guys strive to change these? I don't want to say the mentality of other people seeing a group of certain people in one way, but how is the organization contributing to that?
There was this event that was organized. It was external, and there was I think a few presenters that were talking about. I think it was local movie producers in Shanghai, and that was very interesting because it showed maybe like some aspects about China that maybe like not everybody knows, and it also gave voice to local entrepreneurs, and yeah, so that's a way I would say.
Have you guys? Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, from our organization's perspective, I would say it's just there's not one thing you can do. I think it's a continuous process. You have to kind of continuously talk about, and like that's cultural exchange. That's the way you kind of foster understanding, by just talking to people from different cultural backgrounds, and kind of just, I think that's also why books, for example, or music are a great medium, because
literally
it's the narratives of different people, and like hearing their stories, that kind of, I think if you do that again and again, I think it does shape or change the way you perceive other people, and maybe you become more open-minded. And even if you can't travel, I know that traveling obviously is a great way to get to know other cultures and maybe change the way you perceive people, but that's not always feasible for everyone. So having books, having these fora where you can discuss and exchange with people, I think is one way to get there as well. But it has to like be continuous. And going to one event or like hosting one event is not enough.
What has been the key challenges that you guys have faced so far during the cultural exchange and the policy discussions?
Okay, so I think there's two things that I've noticed. One is that when it comes to discussing policy or politics generally, that is more of an issue in certain countries in Asia, some in Europe as well, just because people fear repercussions. Yeah. Or maybe it's just also not something that they learn, like that they grow up doing. Yeah. That's one thing. So it can be a bit difficult to reach those people and hear their perspective on certain policies, for example. But the other thing is actually reaching people from underrepresented regions, just because either they're just not aware that youth organizations like Stear exist, so they don't go out looking for us, and maybe they're active on different channels. So yeah, those are the two I've noticed.
Yeah, and more from like a personal experience. Like when I've met like a few people from China or Taiwan, and you know, for us maybe it's not easier, but like more common to come out with the issue of Taiwan, the US and China, but maybe I've noticed that, for example, there was this friend, and I was asking her like what she thought about it, but she wasn't really very interested in the political aspect, and so yeah, that was interesting to see.
My next question is actually funny because Stella actually asked me before we started the show, how do I measure my impact? And that's my next question. I literally had it prepped without even thinking that you're actually going to ask. How does your organization measure the impact that you guys have on youth engagement?
Different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like it's how many people get involved, how many people like talk about and discuss about different topics. I would say, we are very happy to have as many people joining our conferences and our events. But as we were talking about before, like even through social media is very it's more easy to reach out to a broad range of people. So the organization. So
do you guys usually have like debates at your conferences and stuff, like about the policies and stuff?
Yeah, we do. Like we have panel discussions, and then we have it. Like I said, it's very important for us that young people actually get to talking, and just talk about it. There's no right or wrong necessarily, because we want people to start the conversation first, and to kind of, through hearing other people's opinions, maybe go out and learn more. Yeah, if that makes sense. And in terms of impact, I would just add that there's quantitative and qualitative, and obviously quantitative is more easy to measure. But in terms of qualitative impact, we've had a lot of people reach out and just tell us that through Stear, they've become more aware of certain opportunities. It helped them find that, they maybe want to pursue a career in like politics, which is great, but that's not our goal. But it's great that people through us have come to that realization. And I think just getting these like personal messages for me is also a great impact.
For sure. How have you guys collaborated with any other organizations before? Which organizations have you guys collaborated with so far?
Well, I don't know if you want to answer that because
quite a number actually.
I joined too late. I mean, more recently.
So I think our first partner was the European Student Think Tank. So a lot of youth organizations actually, who are also active in like the youth space, but focus on different topics. There's European Guanxi, who focus on Europe-China relations, and Polis 180. With those two organizations, we actually have a number of events that we co-organize. But we also collaborate with individuals or especially for the capacity building activities like writing workshops. We often have like experts, and through them, their organizations become interested in Stear and are interested in like being present at the Global Village, for example, or joining the conference. So we do try to collaborate quite a bit. We also have, in terms of policy work, we produce quite a few journals and blog posts. And for the journals, we often also collaborate with other organizations. And we recently came out with a journal that we produced together with the National University of Singapore, which was also a really exciting project.
That's huge.
It was quite good. It's all on the website. You can read it there.
How are you guys incorporating diversity and inclusivity into the youth engagement and cultural policy?
Well, I think we are a very diverse group. There are people from Europe and from Europe, like from different countries, and the same ways for people from Asia. And also, we are diverse, also in the sense of like personal background, educational background, or.
Can I ask? So if I'm not from If I'm not from Europe or Asia, can I still come to any of your events?
Oh yeah,
of course, yeah.
There's that much of diversity.
I think
yes.
You don't need to be like.
Okay.
Yes. You don't need to be maybe like specialized in Europe-Asia relations.
Okay.
It's
okay, that's interesting.
We just want people to be interested in it. Like,
okay. You want people to get educated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like if you're interested in cultural exchange, I mean, our events are always going to focus on Europe, Asia. If that's not what you're interested in, then you can still join. It just might not be very interesting for you.
Literally, right? Because me being me, I'm African, I'm from the African continent. So I'm like, is it just for Europeans and Asians? Or that's the reason why I asked that question. Okay, that's actually interesting. It's actually welcoming. Now for people that are watching and people that might think that it's mainly based just on, they could, if maybe they are interested and willing to learn about Asia, they could also join and learn about certain cultures and the different things that goes on between the policy making and the policy discussions type of thing. How do you see the role of technology in fostering the cultural exchange and policy discussions between Europe and Asia?
Well, I think for Stear, like technology has been like very important because Stear is like mostly online based, and it's impressive to see how just like through, I don't know, like phones or laptops, we could create like such a big thing, and so I think technology is great to connect with like people from all over the world, but at the same time we also like want to have more like in-person meetings, and so that's why we like first we created a chapter in Singapore, where our members there try to.
Did it actually start in Singapore? In which country did the organization start?
I
don't want to say it started in one country because literally the founding board, we were from all over. So we didn't have a physical presence anywhere. Like Bea just.
But where is it registered? In which country is it registered?
This is interesting. So we're not yet registered. We're in the process of getting registered in Europe. Most likely, probably in the Netherlands.
That's the business side of me coming from asking where is it registered, because
that is a fair question.
Yeah, I'm a business major and I'm thinking, it's another.
Yes.
Forgive me.
No, fair question.
Yeah.
Literally. So where are you looking at registering it then?
Well, in the Netherlands, most likely.
Why? Is the majority of? Is there a specific reason or?
So. Honestly, the current board looked into it, and I think it was they looked at, where is it cheapest, because obviously funding is an issue for a young organization. We don't have like income in any way. Like our events are free, everything we offer is free. We all volunteer for this. But we would like to have some fun, so you need to get registered, but that costs money. So they looked into where is it cheapest, what's like the legal process, like what do you get for your registration, like, and I think they just did like a pro and cons list, and then I think the Netherlands, also our presidents are Dutch. So I think for them it was just very easy to understand what the process entails in the Netherlands. But I know they looked at a bunch of countries.
Are the presidents young professionals or students?
Both. So one is a student and one is a young professional. And we always have two presidents. And normally they are from, we try to have like a diverse board and have them from different countries. But it just so happened that they're both from the Netherlands this time.
That's interesting. Do you guys, how does the voting, do they change the president? Each year, so they have like a certain mandate.
Yes.
This is incredible, right?
Yes.
Wow. I'm actually impressed. When I saw the organization, I saw it's like full of young people. I'm like, you guys are really serious about it, actually.
Yes.
And it's impressive.
Thank you.
So looking ahead, right? What are your organization's priorities and for promoting closer Europe-Asia relations through youth engagement and cultural policy discussions?
I think we want to organize more events and just keep discussing, and also through our journal, keep publishing, and just continue to grow and reach out to as many people as possible. And
I think a few things. I mean, we are quite young still, so getting registered now is the first step to kind of, I think that's the basis to go further. And I think it's a lot about sustainable growth, because a lot of organizations just burn out because, we are quite ambitious. We've grown quite fast, and we do want to continue. But we're only just kind of establishing ourselves in the space. And we do that through like collaborating with other organizations and, you know, doing as much as we can in terms of like producing content, producing papers. But, you know, it still needs to be sustainable. So I think that's one of the biggest goals. And then reaching more out to like underrepresented not just regions, but also, you know, it goes from gender to socioeconomic background, you know, just bring us as diverse, people from diverse backgrounds in. And then the chapters that we just mentioned before is a way to kind of reach people who might not necessarily be as present online and to have, you know, a community on the ground. And that's really important as well. So we are looking to have more chapters in the future across Europe and Asia. So now we have 2, one in Singapore and one in Brussels that we're launching now. But there's going to be more in the future.
Literally, I look forward to it. Actually, y'all should actually invite me.
Well, you are invited, of course. Everyone is invited. Literally.
So basically, in closing, you came to the platform with the goal of wanting to promote the event, right? That Stear Think Tank is going to be hosting on the 20th of May. Can you quickly just tell us about that and what's the aim of that event?
Yeah, so we want to launch the Brussels chapter, and we are going to organize the event with Europe 1C and Police, and we are going to first briefly introduce what the chapter is about. And then there's going to be like a short quiz on Europe-Asia relations and related topics. And then it's just going to be like a networking, space for whoever wants to join. And yeah. Yeah.
So the idea is basically just to kind of say, you know, we're here, we are like present, you can join us, you can join the chapter, be active. We're going to do regular events, but it's very much focused on building a network and like giving people the opportunity to exchange ideas with like-minded people, discuss topics, but also maybe learn if you are interested in working in something related to Europe-Asia relations, maybe international relations, maybe in the policy space, maybe in the cultural space, like how can you do that? What are the opportunities? Or maybe you're just interested in this space and just want to, you know, talk about it, and that's your community there. So yeah. And so everyone's welcome.
Definitely. I look forward to it, actually. I'll make sure to come, even though I have a hectic schedule on the weekend, but I'll definitely make sure to come. So just quickly tell the people, do you guys know the address, the time, when the event is going to be, so on and so forth?
Yes. So it's at 6 p.m. On the 20th, so Saturday in a week. Yeah. And it's the place is called Beer Mania.
Oh, okay. Where's that?
That's Etterbeek.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so it's not far.
No, it's not far.
Oh, okay.
It's free.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun because we have a quiz prepared, and, you know, there's 2 other youth organizations. So I think it's going to be just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I look forward to it, actually. So where did you want to add something?
I know, just like it's informal, it's like just to connect with each other, and yeah.
Oh, okay. So where would you like for people to actually follow you guys on? Could you just shout out like the Instagram handle, the website and everything?
Yes. So we have a Brussels chapter LinkedIn account, which is Stear Brussels chapter, and Stear is STEAR. And all the other channels are like the Stear main channel. On Instagram, it's just Stear Think Tank.
Oh, okay.
Same on Twitter, and we also have Facebook. Yeah.
So on every platform.
Yes.
Literally. And where would you? I don't know. Do you guys? Where would people like to follow you guys? If you want people to follow you, where would you like for people to follow you guys as individuals and see some of your work? Like your private pages or something. That's if you guys want to shout that out.
I guess for me, either Instagram if it's more artsy, or LinkedIn if, that's where I do like all my professional stuff. And like I'm very interested in, I work in tech policy and digital policy. So this is my space where I talk about tech and youth organizations.
There's actually a seminar. I don't know if it's a seminar, but it's something happening on the VUB campus. I don't know. I'll have to check on my calendar, but I wrote it down. I think you might be interested into that since you're into digital.
Cool,
stuff.
Do share.
I think we've reached the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for joining and taking the time out of reaching out and having to come to the platform. I really appreciated that you actually took the platform into consideration for what it is, because it is a platform just like you guys are working into youth engagement. I believe I'm also doing the same work, because the platform is literally a voice for the young people. So I look forward to the event, and I'm wishing you guys best of luck on your journey with that Stear. And I hope that one day, I don't know, you guys could move into a different continent even, Thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of the Assimilation Podcast. Before we wrap up, I just want to leave you guys with a positive note. So basically, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and as you might not know, I'm very, very passionate about mental health, because I've lost soldiers before, and I mean soldiers like metaphorically. I've lost people to mental health, so it's very important for me. So I just want to leave you guys with a positive note to say that no matter what you guys are going through, just know that the sun will come out tomorrow. I am always rooting for you. You're not in the fight alone. And there's so much more. You can reach out for help. You can speak to your loved one, to anybody that you feel comfortable talking to. But residing to being alone and feeling all lonely is not the solution. I'm rooting for you. I wish you nothing but the best. I wish you happiness. I wish you that you might feel better just by these, I don't know, kind words that I'm putting out there. And I hope that somebody feels that I remember them and I am feeling your pain. Even though I might not feel it, but I see you and I salute you for wanting to get through, basically. I hope you enjoyed the episode of today and learned something new, especially if you're not, never been interested into Asia. I'm inviting you to come to the event to actually see what it's about, and maybe, who knows, you might even be interested. Maybe, I don't know, if we're talking culture, we're talking food, we're talking music, we're talking, certain norms that people have and certain ways that people do their stuff. So it's always interesting to learn something new. So I'm inviting you to the event. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite platform. We'll be back next week with another thought-provoking conversation and insight. Until then, stay curious and keep changing the world. I've been your host, MJ Mpoyi. Until next time, goodbye.